tick opt-in box.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the original, I'm not sure if you saw original designs, but they've changed slightly. Before we had the question was a statement, so they could either strongly disagree, neutral, agree, or strongly agree. So there was like a slider bar that they could move, and we've just simplified it by having questions and answers. So, and again, these number of questions can be potentially, we have to put a limit on how many we can have. So here we're highlighting how many, 5 and I don't know. But that could in theory be 3 or 7. So a user will get to here, they will select one, so obviously a selected state, and then they're able to proceed to the next question. And then they will go and answer as many questions as has been stipulated in the content management system.
Okay.
Does that all make sense so far?
I have hello there, it's Olga. I'm
Hi,
project manager here. Yeah. So I have a question first. If you go to the first page where it just say hi or something like that, are you going to make it dynamic, like this text will change accordingly to the company that is going to use your service, or is it just a static text that represents the service?
Yeah, it's not dynamic.
So it will be the same for anyone who is going to make a survey, yeah?
Yes,
No
but
change.
I suppose no, it won't change. But actually, if it's yeah, I suppose it will, because there's going to be multiple surveys, so there will be multiple landing pages, if that makes sense. So if we use it on our clients, it will have the same copy. But if we sell it to a client who sells swimming pools, then it will be obviously different text, and that needs to be manageable in the back end.
So the admin needs to be able to manage this, yeah?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, we need to think about that level of admin access from like a super admin, us, who's the product owner, and people who license the product, who will have access to create their own content as well.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but do you need it for the MVP?
No, and I think that's what we need to understand is really for the minimum viable product, we need it to work for modern for us. We're not expecting the benchmarking to be there for the MVP, but then it's just understanding how quickly we can get all of the stuff we need on it, because we've got clients who are really interested in it. But yeah, that's fine. Any more questions on any of the other pages so far?
So far, no.Maybe you will continue and I'll have more questions later.
So yeah, no problem. So here, once the user has answered the number of questions, and that could be, it might be 5 questions or 10, depending on the particular survey, they get to their report page, and here they will get an overall score. So how they answered the questions, and we'll touch on this, because we want to talk about the logic around a kind of a scoring system that the user won't see, but obviously there'll be the logic that we will know is there. So they get an overall score for the answers they've answered, and here they get this graph, which we found some code for, and it gives them an indication of the particular section. So if there's 10 questions, and one section is the questions 1 to 3, and another section is 4 to 7, and then the final one is 8 to 10, the report will break up those questions. So here it gives them a look to say, you on this particular section you scored 75%, and again that logic we'll have to discuss about how we get to 75%. It gives them a paragraph, and then if they hit show recommendations, it then gives them a breakdown of all the questions within that particular section, with ideally, in a perfect world, a benchmarking system, so they can see who else has done the survey, how they rank against their competitors, in theory. And then it's got a few more recommendations, which will be dynamic. So if on question 1 they answer in, say, answer number 5, then this will be different than if they answered question number 2, because their percentage scoring would be slightly different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, quick question over there regarding sections. So sections are basically you categorize or you group a certain group of questions, and basically you do groups of questions,
Exactly.
right?
Correct.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
you present groups of certain questions, correct?
That's it. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because it could be that someone uses the survey and chooses, as an admin, chooses they only want one group of questions. That's up to them. But yeah, the way that we would use it as a digital agency, we would probably have a minimum of 3 sections or 3 groups, as you call it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Because here for our example, we've used marketing strategy as one. Tactics and implementation and marketing team and beyond, just in terms of, so it's clear to them that they can see where they're good and where they're not, and then get a breakdown into each one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it from a design perspective. That's their report. Obviously, from a back-end perspective, as soon as they get their report, we also trigger an email which has a link, a unique link back to this report online. So we don't send them a PDF or anything. It's just another link back to this report. So it's unique to them, so they can share it with their colleagues.
Okay. And so this will be a web page, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you already have maybe designs for the
Desktop.
web version, desktop version?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll show you. Yes, I do. If you bear with me.
Before you go from here, while you're showing this scoring page, can you? I'm just concerned about how to calculate this graph.
Yes.
To show the difference and to show the level of what they reached. You
Yes.
explained it earlier, but maybe now you can repeat it again, because in the documentation you said you changed it a little bit. And if we don't have benchmarking, then how should we?
Yeah, well, we would like benchmark, but we understand we're not sure if that's possible to begin with. Just there's a couple of discussions that we've had internally, and one is could there be an option for an admin to put in benchmarking numbers, so when people start using it, there is a benchmark which is not determined by data but determined by the admin. And then the second option is, obviously long term, what we'd love to have is the data that every time someone fills out a particular survey around a particular topic, the benchmarking is captured and incorporated into the report. So if I fill it out and it's been filled in 15 times before me, then I get to see all of those 15 people's data amalgamated onto that report, but obviously as is one number.
Okay, so by benchmark, we mean that a certain question, every answer will have a certain score, correct?
Yes.
And using that score, then we'll have a formula that will be calculating basically that percentage.
Exactly. Yeah. The only thing that might get slightly complicated is we've discussed potentially weighting certain questions or certain sections. So we've put some spreadsheets together where we've tried to calculate what that might look like, because there might be one particular question which is, so important that it deserves 70% of the overall score or 70% of that section score. So we have to think about, we don't want to overcomplicate it, but we also think that's going to be valuable for people who are going to use this tool, and think about how that might work. Does that make sense? Because I understand I don't. If I'm not being clear, just say.
No, it makes sense. So how I see it is the admin will determine the score of the weight or the score of a particular answer, right?
Yes, correct.
And based on the maximum. So, for example, one question could have like 3 answers and the score would be 1 to 3. And another question too would have also 3 answers, but the score there would be, I don't know, 1 to 10 or 3, 4.
Yes.
Then again, that's something that the admin would be determining.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly right. And on top of that, there could be a discussion to say, if there's 3 groups of questions, it might be that group 1 is 50% of the overall score, and the other, group 2 is 10%, and group 3 is 40%. So we just need to think about how that would work. So it's kind of weighting on the questions and weighting on the group.
So for that, we can either go like very straightforward. The admin will be weighting it, like providing that information by providing the numbers, and then the system will basically automatically then understand what is the weight of a particular section. For example, the section 1 would have like 100 points, section 2 would have 200 points, which means that section 2 is much more valuable than section 1, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, so it can be done that way. This way, there won't be a need of adding any additional complex logic on the admin part, but that would be something that the admin would need to handle himself, right? But
yes,
he can do that
yes.
next and then move it to the system.
Correct.
So that option would work for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Just pulling my colleague Dax. Does that make sense to you?
Do you have a description?
Yeah.
Because as far as
we'll take you through it as well.
What I would say is the changing of weight should be at the company level. So we will be kind of super admins. Below us will be our customers, who will be using this application. So they should have control on what weight to add, change, something like that. And the weight will be at the group level of the questions, group of questions, as well as at the individual question level.
Yeah, I think we're clear, aren't we? Dax, do you want to share your screen and show the team the algorithm you came up with, just to show how it works? And it could be, this is a starter for 10 basically, that we were kind of playing around with some ideas yesterday on how this might work. So it'd be good to get an opinion.
Can you allow
share
me? Thank you, Rob.
The thing is that, for example, for the first version, we would go with a very straightforward, simple route, just with scores and weight.
Yep.
And then after that, once we have all the infrastructure set and right and it's working, we can then, start exploring the algorithm and basically that part.
Yeah, makes sense.
But it would be great to take a look, maybe how your algorithm looks, just to.
Yeah. I think from our perspective, Daniel, what would be useful is just getting a sense of how long you think it might take to do the scores and the weighting and that first MVP, and then roughly what you think is going to be required in terms of time and money to kind of do the full release, basically, and how long it will take, so we can manage our clients' expectations.
Okay. Could you share this Excel with us? Just email it to us.
So you see the Excel file first. Let me share with you.
Yeah, we do.
So these are the color codes.
Can you zoom it in, please? It's very small.
Yeah, can you zoom in a bit, Dax? Thanks.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so this green is added by user, yellow is added by company, us, Modern. And this blue is the calculation part, which will be done by the system. So, as an example, we here have overall score, and then we have like section 1, the score with the weight. This is calculated with the weight. So this weight is adding the percentage, in terms of percentage, what weight this section will be having in connection with other sections in this survey. So here you can see, if I go here, this section has 50 points. And then the other section, second section has 50 points. The third section also has 50 points. So if let's say if I change this to 10%, it will change this thing. Overall percentage.
Okay. Could you change it back to 50 when it was 50 points? It was 30?
Yeah.
It was 21? Okay. We'll need to understand how that works. So it would be great to look at the formulas. Yeah.
What I did was I normalized the calculation and then calculated it. So you can have a look and then give us some suggestions or feedback if any improvement we can do. And this is kind of partial kind of calculation. So this is for one company, let's say. So there will be multiple companies.
But in theory, Dax, the logic should be the same, though, shouldn't it? Yeah. Across any company, obviously. I think what I would like to see, and I'm not sure if it's possible yet, is if I'm an admin, what do I think Daniel said it. Do I just put, do I score it 1, 2, 3, and does your dashboard here ever produce a number? So do we get to a point if there's 3 sections or 3 groups where it's clear that they all add up to 100% in the normalized, so we can kind of see what that journey looks like from to the end report?
Yeah, I mean, let's say so here the maximum point for this question is 10 and the user has selected 10. So what you see here is this section, they are getting 100% for this section 1.
Yeah, because they've answered okay, I get that.
And this one has also 100% because all the answers are 10.
So Dax, as an admin, where your cursor is, what are my options? Instead of putting a 10, if they select the second answer, then what would that be, a 4?
No, here, this one, you see, this is 15. So these numbers are adding weight. So these are the weight for the questions, which is added by the admin.
Okay, I think it would be like very simpler if we go just with scores rather than weights, because then we have a tie to percentages. Like scores simplify a lot of things, but still you will be able to calculate the percentages and get the benchmark right.
Daniel, can you explain how that would work? I think I'm with you, but it'd be useful if you...
Yeah, so that would work very simple. So you have question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You have a question and you have answers like answer 1, like A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. And the admin basically would be putting a score to that particular answer. So for example, the first one would be, we can say it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Yeah. So the highest score is 5. If he answers this question and selects the last answer, which will be 5, that means that he scored like 100% on this particular question. Yeah. So it would be similar to the algorithm that you currently have, but it would be a little bit like more straightforward, more simpler. Yeah. And it would be, sorry?
What sense it will be simpler?
In simpler that the admin would just be not indicating the weight. So for example, over there you have, you're indicating percentage of the answer, right?
Yeah.
And based on that, you have the weight. In our case, it would be just reflecting based on the score.
Because all questions may not be of same importance.
Yeah. Yeah, so the questions might, yeah, and the idea is that if the question is more important, then he would be putting a higher score for them, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
it will be not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would be maybe, let's say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So he would be putting a higher score.
How will you calculate with that within the section?
We will have the the maximum amount, right? Because
Yeah.
we get the totals, and based on the totals, we understand what is the
So this is
the percentage
here
for
you can
that.
see, here you can see the total. This is the total.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've broken up the calculation process. So here is the total, and based on this total, the percentage is calculated.
Yes.
This is the total of all the questions points. So if we increase this point to 50,
Mm-hmm.
the total changes for all questions, and then you get the percentage difference.
Mm-hmm.
Dax, I think what we're saying is if here the questions are always going to go from most valuable at the bottom in theory, so an admin won't even have to put those numbers in because it's automatically going to generate. So if there's 5 questions, it knows that question 5 is more valuable than question 4 and so forth.
Not really. What is suggesting is that we should add more points to specific questions, and that is same as adding more weight to specific questions.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
That's what we are doing here, the same way. Instead of adding points, we are adding percentage. That's it.
Yeah. So yeah. So I'm saying that both formulas work. I find it straightforward. It would be just indicating weight. The higher the weight, the points. The higher the point, the higher the value of that particular question. And in terms of percentage, it will be like calculating similarly as it is now. Yeah. So, but I see it like a little bit more straightforward, and I found it that most users think based on points and scores, and that worked well on another thing that we did in the past. But if you want to stick to the current algorithm, then we will be able to do it. But we will need to analyze your spreadsheet, and we will come up with that formula.
Daniel, in terms of your thinking, are you able to weight certain answers?
Based on the score, yeah. It will be.
Okay.
Yeah.
My point here is that if a section has 10 questions, okay, another has 3 questions, so a section having more questions will automatically have higher number of points, total points, and that can be misleading. So those have to be normalized.
Yeah, but okay. But how I understood this section might have a bigger number of points, but we will still be comparing the sections between each other, right? So one section, for example, is 30%, the other is 50%, and the other, I don't know, is again 20%. So the scores basically if the section, let's say, if the section was 200 points, right? In total there are 300. Let's say in total there are 400 points. One section was 200 points, and the other one were by 50. So that makes it a total of 300 points. So one was taking like it's 75% or something, and the other one are taking the rest. So if we increase the score number, for example, we'll add for like section 1 so that it's not 25 points, but it's 30 points. The total now will be 325 points. But it'll be still like 100%, right? But now the weight of the first section increased a little bit. And in the benchmark, in the graphics, we'll be showing that difference. If
this is
the user perspective, they'll see that difference. That's
I got to the point, but this is a lot of manual work. What we want to do is completely automate. So by default, each question will have certain fixed points. Let's say here like 10 points. So everything is 10 points. So they can instantly kind of choose to add weight or choose not to add weight. Still the comparison is completely automated.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. Okay. Like.
Daniel, what's the best way for us to? Daniel, what's the best way for us to move forward? Is it to share what we've got, our algorithm, so you kind of understand what we're thinking, but also I totally take your point. If you've done something similar before, that's useful. So I guess we're just getting to a point where. Do you understand it enough, which I absolutely think you do, to be able to kind of roughly guess what we're trying to do and be able to put some kind of time frame on it?
Mm-hmm. So you can send over your algorithm. The thing is that implementing like 2 different algorithms, again, requires different time. So with the option that I was suggesting in the beginning, it would take like less time, right? And because you'll be using it internally in the beginning, right? You can do these things manually. Later on, we can adjust, of course. So you can send over the documents, we can analyze it, and then we'll be able to provide the estimates depending on the different way how things are calculated. Yeah, so we can do that, but we would require again a little bit more time to analyze them to provide a.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I think we just want to make the right choices, but again. Yeah, no, we don't have much time, but we want to make good choices. So I think we've got to respect that you need some time to do it. Yeah. So that's absolutely fine.
Yeah. So the thing is that we're building software, right? So we can adjust later on once if you can go, for example, with a simpler version now because you're using it internally, and then later on we can of course adjust the algorithms and extend it to be more advanced to handle the other scenarios.
My only question there, Daniel, is sorry, Dax, is just to say, because we've got clients who are keen to have this, which is great for us, but obviously we don't. we're still discussing the algorithm. So it's when you say later on, I totally understand that. But are we talking months? Are we talking weeks or years? It's just worth us getting a kind of a rough idea.
We're talking about weeks.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, this is my question. This was my question.
Right. Yeah. No, that's good. That because because I understand it. It's all a bit. It's a lot of guesswork at the moment for you. I totally understand that. But for us, it's just we're not going to hold you to any dates or anything. It's just trying to figure out. Yeah. Is the MVP going to be? That's going to take 4 weeks to build, and then afterwards it's another 4 weeks, and that's fine. That's kind of roughly where we're trying to get.
Okay. We'll do the estimates and then we'll
fine. Yeah, fine. Understood. Do you want to quickly just go through some of the functional side of things and just pick up anything that's Let me just.
Will you be able to forward the Excel file today or tomorrow?
Yes. Yeah, okay. No, Dax, we can save that down, can't we? To yeah, send it over. What am I looking for here? So I'll just walk through these, and I think let's shout if there's anything that needs clarifying. So the user will fill out a form in order to access the questions. Each question could theoretically have a different number of answers. So I think we've kind of discussed that. Essentially, I guess 2 to 10, or maybe we should put a limit on that. For example, question 1 has 3 possible answers. Question 2 has 5 possible answers. The questions will be broken into sections or groups. The number of sections in questions per section will be determined by the project admin on a case-by-case basis. And this is because we're licensing this product to other people. We don't know exactly what their requirements are, so there has to be that flexibility for them to be able to do that. Questions are multiple choice, which is obviously new or different. One option will be skip question I don't know, or similar copy. And a user will be unable to proceed to the next question until they have selected an answer. So they have to select something before they move on to the next question. Each question and all answers are content manageable. This is obviously important for us, and we don't want anything like that hard-coded because we want the admin to be able to have control over what the questions and the answers are. Once the questionnaire is complete or the survey, the report will be generated as a single web page populated with dynamically generated content related to the answers they choose. So again, it's on the percentage of each section and each answer, particular element of copy will be produced for them. So if they're particularly poor in a certain area, then the copy will be around kind of potential solutions for them. If they're very good, then it won't be. The report will feature copy based upon the answers provided plus charts. And here, we just want to discuss these with you. We've got 2 charts. So we've got the semicircle chart, which we use to encapsulate the score of the overall group. And then we've got a kind of a benchmarking bar, which we use for each answer. We found a semicircle. It just in the effort of trying to speed up things, we found a semicircle bit of code that we could potentially use for the benchmarking bar. We've not found anything, so we can do some digging on that. But again, if there's other benchmarking solutions that might be available, we're willing to discuss them. It was just our kind of first idea at them. Each report will have a unique URL that is alphanumeric, not identifiable. Like I said, we need to trigger an email to the user that's completed the form, so they can visit the web page again, but it has to be unique because obviously there's data on there and we don't want anyone else looking at it.
I want to add here one point.
Yeah.
So we will be sending email through the system. So an email, to compose an email, and the backend has to be there. And to upload the contact, email addresses.
Okay, so
use some third-party tool which we can integrate with it, to send out emails, so they are not marked as spam.
You want to integrate with another system to send out emails? Did I understand correctly? Or you want it to be sent out from the current system because it will already have?
Yeah, we can use current system to send out, but anti-spam measures should be implemented in a way which ensures emails are not marked as spam.
So it's adding the unsubscribed, adding the company's information, terms and conditions, like those things into the email content.
And the domain has to be kind of whitelisted with ISP.
Then what needs to be whitelisted?
The domain name.
Oh, so okay, but you're responsible for the domain name. We'll need it from you.
Yeah.
So we'll do the technical part because if you are sending out marketing campaigns using that domain name and it's maybe somewhere blacklisted, that's something that we do not have control over. We can implement the functionality for sending out the emails, and we can put the emails into a format that basically there'll be an unsubscribe option and the other rules that need to follow so that the email doesn't go to the spam folder. But if your domain was blacklisted, that's something that we cannot.
No, that's a separate issue. What my point here is, we want to have a feature where person can add the name of the subdomain and use it.
Oh, for sending out emails?
For sending out emails or hosting the page, web page as well.
Ah, okay. Okay, so that's for companies, right?
Yeah, at the company level, they in their account, in the settings menu, they can select the name of the subdomain.
Okay, so it would be like company A dot yourdomain.com, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, but that's probably not on the MVP, on the MP version that is later on, right?
Yeah, but I mean, we can talk about it later on in future,
Okay.
later on, but that is part of the
so it's
feature
doable.
we want to have later on.
Yeah, it's doable. Okay.
Great. Yeah, I'll continue. When a user completes the questionnaire and submits the data, an email notification should be sent. We've obviously discussed this. So one triggers to the particular salesperson or whoever the owner of that, or whoever the admin is of that particular survey. They need to get registered to see that someone's done it. So development built using JavaScript, Ruby, and Rails or similar. I imagine you're going to have suggestions on the best ones that you would recommend. We've mentioned here charts to be built using existing off-the-shelf solution. Like we've mentioned, the only requirement is that they broadly align with the designs, and we want them to obviously look as good as they can. We've got the one example here, which is of the semicircle chart, which you click through. The benchmarking, we just need to have a think about whether we try and find a solution for that or whether that it's custom made. It's built as a standalone web application, not part of a CMS. Obviously, we want it to be quick. We're happy to have it hosted in Amazon Web Services. We want it built for mobile and desktop, and obviously we'll provide PSDs for that. Dynamic elements.
Sorry for interrupting. Does it mean that be just resizable? Not a mobile application you want, correct? You want just
just web's fine. Yeah.
On the mobile.
Yeah.
Do you need it for tablet also?
It's a good question. Dax, what do you think?
I think our design should be responsive, irrespective of the device, whether it is desktop, mobile, or tablet. It should be looking same.
Yeah.
Okay, and before you continue, because I wasn't able to interrupt, you were too quick to explain everything. I have a question about content for the questions. It's you said it's managed by the admin. Do you need it to be in a different template, in a different styles, colors, fonts, whatever? Because in the example of Netigate, they have a lot of styles. Do you really need all of those? Do you want to integrate with that? We just make a simple version?
But we do want to be able to change fonts. Obviously, this wouldn't be for MVP, but we want to be able to change fonts, the icon at the beginning for the different companies that we use it, and colors.
Okay.
Because one of our clients licenses this product, obviously they'll want it to look and feel like their own brand. We appreciate there's going to be limitations on how much change there can be, and it should be content manageable that they can just change certain things. But we appreciate it's not going to change it a huge amount, but just enough. But 1.2.7, we just, in terms of kind of flourishes and dynamic elements, just things that happen on the page, we could get our designer to make some suggestions on what that should be. But again, we would also lean on you guys is you do these things a lot. Is if you've got some ideas on how we could just improve the user experience just by adding a flourish or a graph that it doesn't just appear, but kind of if it's 30%, it kind of starts at 0 and goes to 30%. Just like little touches, that would be very appreciated.
Kind of a motion, animation kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. There'll be two types of data gathered. So the user data, so the stuff that in the form essentially. So first name, second name, and email address, and then long term we would like obviously to potentially have the option to have more info, and the answer data. So the answers that the users are filling in. User data required to access are pretty obvious. It's first name, last name, email, answers to questions, and long term we would like the capacity to add other fields, but we appreciate that that's not going to be now. Answer data will be gathered over time to create benchmarks for each survey. Again, I think one of those conversations we'd had, it would be really good is part of the MVP to have the admin able to put in benchmarking scores. So when users do start, that there will be benchmarking there. But long term, obviously, we want that algorithm in place. So the more people use it, the benchmarking is kind of dynamically created in that way. I've just mentioned this option to vet data before it's accepted in the calculation. This is something that is open for discussion. If selected before an answer data is added to the benchmark calculation, it can be vetted and accepted. One of the concerns by our commercial director is people use this might not take it seriously and just effectively answer any old question just to get through the report. And if they do, then the benchmarking will be skewed slightly, certainly if there's not that much data. So that's a requirement long term to potentially be able to for a super admin to go in and see who's completed the questionnaire and be able to say yes or no, this is legitimate. Same here. There should be the ability to remove a user data record. This is from a GDPR perspective as well. That if someone doesn't want their data held, then they have the right for us to remove it. So that's there. When a user answers, I don't know, skip for now. The answer will not be included in the benchmark, obviously, because they don't know. We want the benchmarks as an indication of a positive or negative statement only. The only point I would say on that is we have to agree if there's a group of questions of, say, 5 questions, we don't want them to be able to skip all of them, so it's a complete waste of time. So we'd have to have some kind of logic to suggest that they could only skip maybe 1 or 2. Does that make sense, Daniel?
Yeah,
perfect.
Even for the MVP, even for the minimum product, or
no, I don't think it would be there for the MVP. It's up to you. I'm kind of leaning on you to say what's kind of, but I don't think it would be for the MVP. I think I just don't think it would be. Benchmark should be segmentable by the sector or job function or multi-level fields. We've kind of discussed this. We don't need to discuss this again. And then from a back end, just a few points. There should be a user management area in the back end with the ability to add new users with email, username, name and password. There should be functionality to create multiple assessments reports. This is probably the biggest point because this is how we're going to license our product to our clients. And from the back end, admins should be able to access the data and the content for the assessment. We just need to discuss what the merits are of having a super admin and then allowing other admins, i.e. clients, to be able to use it and what they can and cannot see. My take would be that an admin can only see one particular report, whereas a super admin obviously can see all of them. In the data area, admin should be able to access.
Done for the roles right now. Do you need because if we start creating the roles and permissions are very important. So do you need like 3 roles? One for super admin, one for admin, and one for regular user?
Yeah, I think so. Dax, there would just be 2, wouldn't there? There would be a super admin, who would be us, and there would be an admin who would get access to the back end just to see the report that they were going to create, or see the survey they were going to create.
Let me explain. So super admin will definitely be us. The second level will be the companies which are going to use it. So that is the admin at the company level. And they will have access to edit, the responses which they are getting.
Yeah.
So they can kind of moderate the responses, which Ross was talking about. And then they can give their employees an access, which can be kind of user access, normal user access, or just view only.
Okay.
Yeah, so super admin us, admin the company, and then kind of below that is just a view only admin.
No, user, it can be also user who can add, remove the service. I mean, you can add service, but they will have a restriction, certain kind of restrictions, like they cannot delete any survey or they cannot add any users, likewise.
Okay, got it. Quick question. At this point, will the company admin be able to create a survey, or that's something that is handled only on your end?
No, we'd like them to do it. We'd like them to be able to do it. So yeah, when they get it, they go into an admin area and they can just type in the questions, the answers, put all that together, the weighting.
Okay. Okay, got it.
Yeah. But in the minimum product, I think we will be managing it in the back end.
Whatever's. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we'd love them to do it, but if that's not possible to begin with, then we're happy to do it.
Okay.
In the content area, admins should be able to define the questionnaire content as well as any colors, fonts, and logos. And this goes back to the earlier point. We've designed it in such a way that it kind of looks and feels like modern colors, but it's still pretty clean and simple. So the changes would be a font size. I'm not sure how possible that is. Colors, obviously, in logo as an image should be quite possible. As well as defining the content for the questions and answers, 3 different answers for each section and 3 different per question, which should be displayed in the report depending on the user. So this is for the report. There's always going to be 3 potential options in the report. So depending on what the answers are, so depending on their percentage. So if I think he defines it here. 1 to 40% is emergent, 41 to 80 is advanced, 80 to 100 is optimized, and under each one of those will be a certain section of copy, which will be dynamic depending on what the answers are for that particular section.
Okay.
Yeah. The admin should be able to weight the questions. We've discussed that to death, so I don't think we need to touch that anymore. And I think we've also touched on some of these. So integration, the tool will need to be integrated with an email tool. And we can figure out the best way of doing that. When a user completes a form, they should receive a copy of their report by email. We can mention that it would get triggered to them with a unique user, a unique URL. And when a user submits a form, campaign admins should receive an email update. So the trigger email goes 2 ways. So it goes to the person filling out the survey and the person who created it. And that's it. Any questions? Any more questions?
Okay. Then no more questions related to the product.
I have a point here to make.
Yeah.
This subdomain name of the company will be important as the part of the end product. And the second is we may leave out the sending out email completely. But you may have to create a unique URL. Let's say company A is using it, okay, and it has 10 customers to whom they're going to send survey. So the company A should be able to create 10 unique URLs and share it with those, and use an email to send it to them. And the system should be able to identify from that unique URL which company is the feedback and the survey is being filled from.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Connect it in the backend, no?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
just want to simplify it so the initial product can quickly get off. I think the email integration will be quite a big task, what it looks like.
Okay. Quick question. Do we want them to allow to edit the URL, meaning the section that represents the ID? Maybe they want to name, I don't know, this survey in a more meaningful way. Do we want to include it as well?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Add text to the URL, final URL of the survey, right? That's what you are saying.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
You can add text to the final URL.
Yeah,
Make it
yeah.
more instead of alphanumeric, variables.
Yeah, correct. Okay, we'll take that into account.
And other point is, if you can explore the use of React in terms of moving across different questions, so the page is not loaded for different sections. So it's instant.
Well, what do you mean? You mean?
If you can see the design, you will find mostly the elements are same across different sections of questions.
Yeah.
So if the question is the only text which is changing, then you can maybe use React, the framework, or Vue.js to kind of update it without loading the page.
Yeah. So we were thinking to make it dynamic, because SEO is critical for this page. So we can add a lot of dynamic behavior over there. So we can use either React, either Angular to accomplish that goal. Yeah.
To improve the user experience.
So it will be fast, and the navigation through different sections will also happen very fast for the user.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's the whole reason why we did not select the CMS. We want it to be super fast in terms of loading and also the whole user experience.
Okay. We can do that.
Okay, that's it.
Perfect. That's it from us.
Okay. Yana had something to say.
Ross, I have a question for you. Could you please tell us about the deadline, about how soon you want to receive it?
Ultimately, we want to receive it as quickly as you can do it without being unreasonable to you. So, like I said, we chose to go with another partner because of a couple of reasons. Ultimately, the commercial director decided, but they absolutely were not the right partner for us. So for us, we want someone who we can partner with moving forwards, because there's obviously going to be lots of changes and other stuff. So we want to build a good relationship. There's a bank holiday. It's Easter, obviously, tomorrow and Monday, so work is closed. So if you were able to maybe get something over on Tuesday morning UK time, that would be really great. That we could then potentially discuss, because essentially once we've got signed off with the commercial director, we're ready to go. And I don't know what that looks like in terms of your resource or your resourcing, but we need to get going on this, because we've sold it into clients who really want to use it. So we need to get going as quickly as possible. But obviously, what I don't want to do is I'm not expecting you guys to work weekends, is what I'm saying. So just you let me know how quickly you think you can do it, and we'll be happy with that, I'm sure.
Okay, because in file you have mentioned that it should be like mid-May. However, we have also some public holidays, like we have Easter on our end next week, and there will be kind of like 10 days of public holidays. So that's why we're asking you about that.
Okay. I mean, ultimately, we need it done as quickly as possible, but we're not slave drivers. So, if you make realistic expectations as to when you think it can be done, that we appreciate that, and then let's have a discussion about it.
Okay.
I want to add here, if you can give us a complete overview, I mean, estimation of the whole project, and then you can break it up in releases on what to expect and how much each one will cost. That will be very much transparent. So we want kind of that.
Okay, then.
Yeah, so I wanted to jump in. So we'll do a breakdown. We'll do a detailed estimation of the project. The only thing is that what we'll all need to keep in mind is that there might be some things that will pop up during the development, maybe additional requirements from your end, maybe accidentally something would like what we envisioned. We envisioned it like maybe a slightly different way. So we would provide like an estimate so that you have an understanding of the timelines. But during the development, there might be some, different reasons or situations where we might slightly either go faster because we'll be removing things, either maybe go a little bit slower. But you will have a sense of
what my point was. If any change request is requested during the development, then we can add additional effort estimation for that and integrate it with the overall estimation.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
something is removed, then we can update the total estimation and then reduce the. It's fine.
Yeah. Sounds good. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Does Tuesday morning sound sensible to you in terms of a quote?
Okay, great. It was just curious question just about the previous team. It was also from Ukraine or from some other country?
I'm not sure. It was Russian speaking. I don't know if it was Ukraine. Don't know if they were Ukrainian. I've kind of come onto this project a bit later, Yana. So I'm kind of just. Sorry, Dax.
Yeah, they are from Ukraine.
Oh, right. Yeah, they are.
Okay. Why were they not the right fit, if not a secret?
It's not a secret. It's just we wanted just to get an estimate for the whole job, and they weren't prepared to do it. So we can't run that kind of risk. We're more than happy to go in stages. That makes absolute sense to us. But this would not commit to, even with a full spec, they were not happy to do it. So they came in quite cheap, frankly, for the first part, for the MVP. And we were so keen to move, we were like, fine, let's go. But then actually when we got into the small print of figuring stuff out, we just couldn't get to a figure because we had no confidence that figure would stay in the same price. You might know them, so I suppose be relatively careful what I say. But
no, Ukraine is quite big. They also
yeah,
other
true.
cities are good, so
yeah, fine. But so ultimately we want some kind of reassurance that, because we had no reassurance of, I appreciate an estimate is an estimate, it's not a quote, but we just need some kind of figure. We know that might flex slightly, but we can't get past our commercial director unless we have some kind of figure to work with.
Yeah. Okay. And are we currently the only one that are doing the estimation, or are you also considering?
Yeah, no, it's just you. So I think originally, this is before I came onto the project, there was 4 companies, and I think when I spoke to the commercial director, Stuart, he really liked you and he really liked the other company, but the other company would just could move quick and they were cheap, so he was like, let's do it. But then he's now in Australia, me and Dax just weren't happy with it, so we've re-engaged you. Yeah.
The main issue is transparency. So what we are expecting is open transparency and very clearly defined project lines and milestones. So we know where we are going to start and what to expect when. That's it.
Okay. That's something that we'll do.
But, yeah, they were saying that they have no idea what will be in the second version. Once it is built, we will then, have some idea. We don't want something like that happening later on.
Okay. Okay, got it. Got it. Okay, well, because this pack is full and there are a lot of like elements, we can plan what still will be in the minimum product, what will be on the other phases, so it's easier. There'll still be, based on the experience that we have, there'll still be probably changes that might happen after the first version, the minimum product, because he'll demo it to, you'll get different feedback probably internal the company. Yeah, but we'll create a plan that we'll be able to work from.
We need a plan, overall plan with complete, milestones, deadlines, and what to expect when with the cost. So we are more kind of clear, and then if anything changes, you can make change, and then we can see, But we don't want to have surprises, in the end, like complete underestimation or overestimation, something like that, more realistic estimation.
Okay, I understand.
Great. I think that's it. I think if there's any, Jana, Daniel, Olga, if you've got any questions, just send me an email, give me a call. That's absolutely fine. I don't know if you guys are working over Easter tomorrow and Monday, but again, if you send me an email, I'll make sure I reply to it.
Okay.
Okay. Just we're waiting for the
Yes.
And
we'll
we
get
have
Kat to send that over.
in Ukraine on the 28th. So in a week.
Okay. Understood. Okay.
Okay, then, so if you also have any questions, just email me and I will be able to reply it, as we are working like on Friday as well as Monday.
Perfect. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. It's been a really, really excellent meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you very much
guys.
as well.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful
Bye.
day.
Have a good day. Happy Easter.
Bye-bye.
Bye.